The production of different kinds of dramatic scripts on the stage demands different moods and styles of presentation. It is in this connection that Bharata's doctrine of Vritti is very relevant. The concept of Vritti may be explained as follows. The Sanskrit theory assumes that the principal content of literature, both poetic and dramatic, is an emotional experience or emotive reaction to an experience of life. Every experience naturally carries with it its own emotional stimuli and its particular physical and psychical reactions. In presenting them either through the words only, as in purely poetic compositions, or through the additional mode of acting, as in dramatic writings, artists will see that they are appropriately conceived and convincingly conveyed. Each emotion has an atmosphere of its own and will be truly felt if its atmosphere were correctly created and presented. For example, Shringar or love is a delicate emotion and demands real depth with poetic and graceful presentation. On the other hand, Veer or heroism would demand hot exchange of words, vigorous action, and even fight. This is Vritti. It is for this reason that Bharat links up the Vrittis with rasa, suggesting that a particular rasa needs the introduction of a particular Vritti. In the literary context, a Vritti is akin to the stylistic mode of expression. They were later developed as the ritis of writing. In the theatrical context, the use of a particular vritti covers the mode and style of presenting a drama, delivery of dramatic dialogue and actions, looks and gestures, physical reactions and mental states used in carrying the dramatic experience to the audience. Derived from the root vritta, vritti denotes behavioral mode of speech, body and mind. In this sense, the vrittis are not merely literary styles. They govern the entire human life. And that is the content of dramatic writing and presentation. Bharata speaks of four vrittis. Arbhati is a vigorous mode and it is very suitable for a heroic play, a play of vigorous action, political intrigue, and physical and mental clash. Kaishiki is a delicate mode and goes well with women characters, scenes of love and tender emotions, and is generally associated with song and dance technique of gestures and movements. Satvati is a sattvic mode and is concerned with the operation of mind. A perfect harmony of body and mind is essential for an effective expression of emotions. The Satvati mode, invoking the actor's identification with the emotion, is peculiarity and it is particularly important for theatric rendering of emotion. Bharti is speech. It is the verbal mode concerned with the delivery of dramatic speeches, written especially in grand and impressive diction. An actor always tries to convey the total meaning of the drama by physical movements and gestures, by delivering the dramatic speeches with appropriate intonation of voice, and by expressing the mental states. Friends, an actor always tries to convey the total meaning of the drama by physical movements and gestures, by delivering the dramatic speeches with appropriate intonation of voice, and by expressing the mental states. When we speak of four vrittis, therefore, it is only from the point of view of the particular element, physical, mental, or verbal, which predominates at the moment. Otherwise, these activities present a single complex, and vritti as such would be only one. Bharti is a verbal mode and is common to all kinds of dramatic writing. Satvati is a mode concerned with the rendering of emotions, and no dramatic piece can do without it. In fact, Bharat rates the Satvati Vritti above all else in the histrionic representation. We are thus left with two essential dramatic modes, the Arbati and the Kaishiki. But this accords with Bharata's statement made in another place that the dramatic production is of two kinds, Sukumar or delicate and Avidya or vigorous, corresponding to the use of Kaishiki and Arbati modes. The significance of the doctrine of Vritti for dramatic production is that a play or a scene in a play is dominated by a particular action and emotion. It is the business of the producer and director, the sutradhar of the Sanskrit drama, to choose an appropriate vritti to present a play taken up for the performance, and to vary it if necessary for playing different scenes in the play. It is thus necessary to fix the general mode and style of presentation when a play goes into production. For example, the dominating mode of a play like Abhigyan Shakuntal will be the graceful Keshiki. It will do for playing the fourth act, but it will have to be coupled with Satvati, and in the fifth act, while presenting the confrontation between Dushyant and Ashram party, as well as in the presenting the encounter between Dushyant and Matali in sixth act, a touch of Arbati will be inevitable. The dominating rule for Mudra Rakshas must be the Arbati, as it is a play of vigorous action and political confrontation. But in presenting the scene of Chandan Dasa's execution, Kaishiki mode will be necessary, at least in the beginning. It is the responsibility of the sutradhar or the director to study the play carefully and determine whether its content can be best carried to the audience by a graceful mode or a vigorous mode used in a general way with the touches of other modes demanded by internal scenes. This is what vritti means in theatric context. Bharata's doctrine of pravritti may be considered along with vritti, as the two go together, and as it is a part of the general aspect of drama production, which a director will have to keep in mind. Essentially, vritti is concerned with the expression aspect and pravritti with the communication aspect of drama. People in this world belong to different places and regions. They have their own land of origin and residence. They differ, however, slightly in their habits of speech, dress, food, public and private behavior. This mode of living and behavior is what is called vritti. And pravritti is the knowledge and communication of such individual and particular modes. Pravrittis thus amount to the local usages so far as people's speech, dress, action, and behavior are concerned. Bharata's idea of a drama is that it is an imitation of Lokavritta. If drama, therefore, is to be Vrittant Darshak of all kinds of people in the world, it is expected that both the composition and production of drama will carry with them enough air of realism to make this possible. Of course, we know that the Sanskrit drama, however ideal and imaginative it may be in its theme and conception, is set by the dramatist in an atmosphere of contemporary realism. This is where pravrittis come in. The local usages have another angle also in the context of drama production. It is expected that a play would be taken to different localities and regions. And if the local audiences find a reflection of their own speech, dress, manners, and behavior in the production of a play, they are bound to give a greater response and enjoy it better. The four vrittis of which Bharata speaks, namely Avanti, Dakshinatya, Panchali, and Ardra Magdi, clearly show a regional and local connection from which they originate. A dramatic presentation may have such features related to a particular regions and people. Bharat observes that the people of the south are very fond of music and dance, and they like graceful presentation. The people of the Avanti country and of Middle India feel the attraction of the grand and graceful. The eastern countries and their people welcome the impact of full-blooded dialogue gracefully delivered, and they appreciate wordy rhetoric. To the Western people, violent and grand action has the best appeal. Observations of such regional predilections leads to the use of different vrittis and pravrittis. And Bharata feels that a director would do well to study and respect local usages and customs. In matter of costumes, unless the play were historical, food habits, social practices, and taboos, a director could thus concede to the wishes and preferences of local audiences. As a point of realism, the use of regional languages and dialects has already been provided in the theory for different dramatic characters. A further concession is about dress, manners, and behavior of characters presented on the stage. And it may be extended to stage technique too, if necessary. It is noted in NATYASHASTRA that in certain regions, characters enter the stage from the left or the right side, as opposed to Bharata's stage where entrance and exit
or from the back to the front and vice versa. To entertain and please local audiences, a director may therefore use special technique, omit or modify dramatic speeches, vary actions and dresses, make use of music and dance. Such adjustment is the director's responsibility, and it is a necessary part of production technique.
Use of vrittis and pravrittis can be realized and appreciated only in an actual theatre production of a play. But occasionally, we may find a careful dramatist providing stage directions for delivering dramatic speeches so as to reflect the mood and emotion behind them, which will be suggestive of the vritti necessary to be employed. And once in a while, a dramatist like Kalidas refers to a regional custom of dress, as when Queen Dharini in the play Malvika Agnimitra asks Pandita Kaushiki to dress Malvika in the bride's dress customarily used in Vidarbha for the occasion of marriage. Bharat also speaks of Lokdharmi and Natyadharmi productions. Lokdharmi is based on the natural state of things and actual experiences of real life. It is realistic representation. Natyadharmi is a specialized mode of representation and uses dramatic conventions and symbolic, artistic forms of abhinaya. There is no doubt that Bharat cares for realism in dramatic production. For after all, drama is an imitation of human life and is founded on human nature. Whatever characters are presented in a play, whether celestial, demonic, human, or from the nether world, they must make a traditionally conceived or realistic appearance and speak, act, and feel as human beings do. In order, therefore, to make a correct impact on the spectators and evoke from them a proper response, a play has to be as realistic as possible in theatre production. Bharat mentions several elements which can bring about such an air of realism in the performance of a play. For example, dress, airy general appearance, speech habits, actions and behavior of dramatic characters are modeled on our experience of real life. Bharata's conception of Pravritti and his recommendation for the use of Sanskrit and Prakrit languages in the spoken dialogue of the drama are intended to make the performance natural. More important is the play of emotions and gestures and actions that accompany them, which are recommended to be lifelike and natural as possible. But in spite of this care for realism, one cannot ignore the limitations of a theatre stage. These limitations are of two kinds. There are certain happenings and actions which cannot be reproduced on a stage, like fire, flood, journey, siege, or battle. These are the natural limitations of a stage. Another kind of limitation comes in due to the condition of a stage at a particular time or place. The ancient stage lacked, for example, the equipment and facilities which a modern play producer could use. So, reproducing the background of a happening or creating the scene of action, which is possible to some extent in a modern drama production, which was not possible for the ancient producers. Limitations of both these kinds call, therefore, for a suggestive, symbolic, or stylized presentation. And it is in this context that Natya-dharmi Abhinay becomes relevant and significant. It should not be surprising if Natya-dharmi Abhinay appears to play an important part in Bharata's production techniques. The ancient stage had to find a substitute for all the lack in the equipment and material means it had to face. There is another factor also. The Natya-dharmi technique carries with it a certain grace and charm associated usually with art technique and which is perceived, for example, in a dance presentation which has a thematic or emotional content. Bharat regards drama production as a means of entertainment and a source of pleasure to the audience. And this is an additional reason why he recommends Natya-dharmi technique to convey a sense of grace and beauty.
The Natya-dharmi technique, based on conventions and forms of Angik Abhinaya, is possible to be used in many aspects of drama production. Bharata speaks of different kinds of Abhinaya, production devices, and dramatic convention in this regard. For example, conceptual or mythological things like curse or flight through air, if presented on the stage in concrete or personified form, then it becomes the example of Natya-dharmi. For example, the play Bal Charita of Bhas shows curse, royal glory, etc. as characters on the stage. Mountains, vehicles, aerial cars, celestial weapons, etc. similarly personified. Bhavbhuti makes the Jrimbaka missiles speak from behind the curtain. But in Bal Charita and Dut Vakyam of Bhasa, the weapons of Vishnu and also Garuda appear as dramatic characters. The Natyoktis like Swagat, Janantika, etc., conveyed by special hand gestures and poses. Double roles of an actor, representation of a character contrary to his natural status, like an unmarried girl playing the role of a married woman or vice versa. All Abhinaya executed with graceful gestures, steps and movements, adoption of dance moves, appearance of celestial characters on the stage, mental states of happiness or sorrow, and actions connected with them, rendered in set or conventional technique in stage performance. Imaginary divisions of the stage to indicate different locations, that is to say, Kakshya Vibhag, poetic concepts and creations, decorative language, movements and ornaments, etc. These are all examples of conventional or Natya-dharmi drama production. Thus, presentation of dramatic speeches, gestures and movements, rendering of emotions, certain actions like journey, riding, climbing or descending, fights, change of scene, conveying the notion of time, season or place. Such things may, as far as possible, be realistically presented on the stage. The alternative is the poet's words of description, and if they are rendered by symbolic, suggestive acting based either on dramatic conventions or dance modes, they come in the sphere of Natya Dharmi. The Natya Dharmi has thus considerable scope in play acting, much more so in Sanskrit drama, because Bharat views dramatic performance as a charming and stylized art.